That's right, babes. We're reading ACOTAR. Hopefully in a week. That's the goal. So if you've seen my January TBR, you know that my plan, my goal, ideally, I will have read the entire ACOTAR series and the first 2 books in the Crescent City series before the 3rd book of Crescent City comes out on January 30th. Why am I doing that? Because I don't know, because it's fun. And I'm wondering if I can do it. I feel like I can. It's just gonna be like a little hard and a little tricky because as of right now, it is January 11th. So I have 19 days to read these 7 books on top of my other books on my TBR. This video though is dedicated only to ACOTAR. So you're gonna see me read every single book in this series. Even though I've already read the first one, I feel like it's been a couple months, and knowing how Sarah J. Maas writes and how everything like comes full circle, I feel like I need to reread the first book in order to like fully appreciate what's going on. We're gonna have to reread the first book, but then get into the rest of the other 4 books in the series for the first time ever. So we gotta do that. We gotta do that, babes. Today's Thursday. I also have a client that wants to look at houses here in the next couple of days. I also have my best friend tomorrow coming over because we're celebrating her birthday and also Christmas, and she's gonna be staying the night. So I don't know if I'll be able to read very much in the next few days, but there is gonna be like a massive snowstorm, winter storm, something going on. Everything is like supposed to be fucking cold as hell. Maybe I'll be stuck here and not be able to do anything else besides read. We'll just have to see. You know? I do think that I could finish this book today. No spoilers from here on out. So you know the drill. Like the more I get into this series, the more anything that I say is probably going to be a spoiler. So I'll keep it to the bare minimum and you won't know what's going on, basically. But you'll get to see my reactions. And that's probably going to be funny. Or sad. Knowing SJM. We'll see. All right, so let's chat. It has been literally 1 week since I filmed that introduction. So we're not doing great on timing. It is January 19th. So we have 11 days until Crescent City 3 comes out. Okay, so let me just like take you back to how this started. So I remember I've already read ACOTAR, the first book. I was not like super impressed. I still enjoyed it the first time I read it. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This second time that I read it was kind of like torture for some reason. It put me in a mini book slump, and I didn't read for like 6 days, anything, because I didn't want to get through this. But I felt like I had to because you know Sarah J. Maas' writing. Like she's always throwing like little nuggets in there, and I didn't want to forget anything. So yeah, also Captain has a cone. Don't worry about him right now. And the second time around reading this, I gave it like a 3 out of 5 stars. I was so frustrated with Feyre the entire time. And the love story in the first book really just did not make a whole lot of sense for me. I thought Feyre was boring until that's when I thought she was really interesting. And I started to like her. With that being said, I think I got through this book 2 days ago, finally. And then I picked up the next book, A Court of Mist and Fury, and I devoured this book. Finished it last night at like 2:45 in the morning. And now you got me hooked, Sarah. You got me hooked. Immediately we'll be going into this next one, A Court of Wings and Fury and Ruin. A Court of Wings and Ruin. It's starting to make sense. The things that I've seen that have been somewhat spoilers on TikTok, and I know something is going to happen already that's been spoiled for me, which is really frustrating because I love going into books pretty much blind. I like to know like the gist of what's gonna, like what the story is about, but I don't like knowing almost anything outside of like the beginning of a book, because then I can like put 2 and 2 together. It's just like kind of ruins things for me. So anyway, yeah, so I finished the second book, now on to the third, and my plan was to put this video up on Monday. So that means that I need to read all 3 of these this weekend. And it's Friday. The other thing that kind of was pushing me back, I was in a mini reading slump, but I also have just been super busy with real estate and showing some houses. So I'm not sure what that's gonna look like this weekend. If I am gonna have more things to do, I probably will. And I also have to see my family for a lunch on Saturday. I also wanted to like deep clean the house. I don't know. So if it's the 19th today, Friday, that'll put me at the 22nd on Monday, which would give me 8 days to read the 2 Crescent City books. It's doable. It is. I just have to figure out, because I also have like other things to do. I got my job and clients to work with. Let's just get into the 3rd book. Let's just do it. These are so thick. On chapter 24, and I feel like I'm in the middle of a book slump. I don't think it's gonna be like a big one. I just really don't feel like reading this series right now. I like what's been going on in the books. Like it's interesting, it's fun. I'm not in the mood for it. And I'm struggling here. I've already had to push back this video further than I had wanted to. I think maybe I just need to read a different book and then get into this. I don't know, but my time is like severely running out at this point. I think I'm just gonna read something else and then see if that like sparks it back up, and I will get back into this. It's like, I can't do it right now. I can't. The update is I've finally gotten through the first 3 books of ACOTAR. And I still have these 2 left, but there's a smaller one in there. I don't feel like I really said much about the books themselves. So the first book, A Court of Thorns and Roses, the reread on this was really rough for me. I really did not really enjoy like the main female character, Feyre. Tamlin, I was just like, I don't really understand in this book. Really struggled to get through this. It took me so long to get through. And in comparison to all the other books, like this is not that thick. It was what, like 419 pages, which for fantasy, like that's pretty, you know, whatever. Then I got through A Court of Mist and Fury. This was much more up my alley. It was so much more interesting whenever they introduced more so of some other characters, and love interests really started to catch my attention here. There's not a whole lot you can say because everything is kind of like twisty turny, and I don't want to spoil the books like they were spoiled for me with a certain part of it, so I'm gonna keep this spoiler free. This 3rd book, this felt much more Throne of Glass-esque, especially with like planning out things. I'm gonna keep it pretty vague. Like I said, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but this felt much more Throne of Glass for me, especially with all the side characters and how everything was sort of involved. The storyline just really progressed in this, and I felt like I got so much more of the other characters and really understood like where things were potentially gonna go. I will say it did get sort of boring. Like I feel like I've been kind of working through this fantasy reading slump with these books, which is really, really difficult for me because I love fantasy. I don't feel like I'm being harsh with my criticisms. It's just like the slower parts are like excruciating for me at this point. And there are like a couple slow points, but it's just like a normal, like you can't just have like action, action, action at all points. But yeah, just the slower parts like really were killing me. However, the ending actually felt like the end of the series. So, I mean, obviously like there are some holes and, you know, things that I'm sure the next couple of books are gonna get into, but this felt like a wrap-up book at the end of this. I'm interested to see where this goes. I have the smaller book, and I feel like this took quite a long time to get through. Just like kind of discouraging whenever you're reading a book this big and you feel like you've gone through so much within the first like 200 pages, and then you realize, oh, I actually have like 500 more pages to go, which is insane. Now, A Court of Frost and Starlight, the 4th book, is only 229 pages. I don't know what this is going to be about, actually. And I just want to go in blind at this point. I don't want to look anything up. I don't want any more spoilers. I just want to get through it. And then this is a little concerning with how thick she is, but I'm excited to be done with the series. Not that I don't like it, it's just I'm ready to move on to Crescent City. The clock is ticking, y'all. It is January 24th. And I did not mean to take this long to get through this series. Even just like, it's not even that how long the books are, it's just, I'm struggling with this book slump. I did have to read a romance book in between the second and third book because I just like was dying. I needed something that was different and like a little palate cleanser, and that really helped me. So if I need a palate cleanser to get through these two books, I'm not gonna fight it. I'm just gonna do it and we'll go from there. I have 6 days. This month has really gotten away from me. So I have to read these two books and the Crescent City books in 6 days. Purely because I have it in my head that I need to do it that way. I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Roll the tapes. We're gonna get through these two books. We're gonna do it. I did it. I finished ACOTAR, all 5 books. Finally. This is not my normal spot, but it's also so dark outside that being in my office would not help us. So we're just gonna do this in the living room. I just kind of want to go over my thoughts, my feelings. We know that this started out a little rough with the first book. The consensus is that's pretty normal. And I just think it's so funny how things have changed from the first book. If you know, you know. If you've read this series, you know. So I literally just wrapped up the final book. Well, that's out. A Court of Silver Flames. I haven't looked this up or anything, but there is literally no way that this is the actual last book. Like, there has to be more. There has to be like a few books at least. So this last book was about 2 different characters, 2 of like kind of the side characters, point of views. At first, that was a little rough. It was just kind of like, come on. Like, I want to see like my characters, my main people, but it gets so much better through this. I don't know. This book was kind of like torture though, because there was so much that you just wanted to scream. And then the ending, you saw that I cried. Like, I just couldn't help it. Also, I cried about things that like weren't that important. It was more so just like, I was crying because it was cute and sweet. which is just hilarious to me. Yeah, this series is not like a 5-star series for me, but it still is just so interesting the way Sarah J. Maas can write her books and the way the worlds feel and how interesting the storylines and the plot is and how interconnected everything is. Just insane. I don't understand how anyone can do that as a writer. Like, she is incredible. That's just it. I have to think past like what I just finished because it's so like heavy on my mind. I think my favorite book probably would have been the second book. I think, man, this has taken me much longer than I thought it was going to. For one, because these books are gigantic. Besides the small one, these books are gigantic. Like, this book was over 750 pages. Yeah, after reading book after book of like pretty big, like these two, I had to read a romance book in between them because I just needed something else. Overall, I'm very happy with this series. I'm so glad that I read it, and I'm very, very excited to read Crescent City now. The only thing is, literally right now, as of today, it is January 26th, and my goal was to read Crescent City, well, ACOTAR first and then Crescent City by the 30th, because on the 30th, as we know, say it with me, the third book of the Crescent City series comes out. I'm also not even guaranteed to get that book because I'm wanting to get the special edition from Barnes & Noble. And I feel like everyone and their mother is talking about this book, so I'm sure it's gonna be difficult to even get a copy, but that's my deadline that I've set for myself. That it completely means nothing to anyone. I've just set it for myself and I really wanna meet that goal. I have technically 3 days to read the first 2 books in the Crescent City series. That's gonna be tough because I have my younger siblings coming to stay the night with me tomorrow night. And then I have to go out to breakfast the next morning. So that also kind of excludes things. And then I obviously also have to work in between all of this. So that's gonna be difficult. I will probably have some late nights coming up, and that's okay. I'm doing this to myself. Like, it's literally like I can't be mad at anyone but myself. I'm doing it to myself. I still don't have like the same feeling that I had for Throne of Glass, but this still is a great series, and I'm so glad that I read it. So glad that I tackled it, I think, before Crescent City, because I just feel like the order that I'm doing it makes sense in my brain, and I'm glad that I did it this way. Yeah, that is the end of this video. Finally. I've been recording clips for this for like a week, 2 weeks now, a week and a half. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have read this series, please let me know what you thought. And if you have not been able to get through the first book, let me know as well, because I struggled with it and I understand. Let me know down in the comments. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel, and I will see you guys in the next video. Can you guess what that video is going to be? Bye.